Hello, everyone. I'm just going to give it a few minutes for people to pop on. And if you can hear me, just give me a thumbs up or a hi or yes, I can hear you so that I know that we are ready to go live. Hmm. Kathy, can you hear me? Oh, thank you. Charlene, I'm going to say that that means that you can hear me. So that's what I needed to know. Thank you very much. Still going to wait a couple more minutes for some other people to pop on. And we'll see what we got going on here. So happy October, everybody. We are going to do some pumpkins today. And I know that it's starting to cool off in a lot of the country, probably in Europe as well. But here in southern Arizona, it is 105 degrees today. So it's very, very warm. Not sure it's the best day to be doing pumpkins, but we're going to do pumpkins anyway. So, to start off with, I am going to show you all of the templates that we're going to use. So, hopefully, that gives more people a chance to pop on. First off, we are going to use the 12-inch arc, which let me see if I can. There we go. The 12-inch arc. This is the classic Westerly template. Um, Everybody should have this template. So the 12-inch arc, we're going to use that. And notice I put some ruler stickers on my template. So I'm going to tell you a little bit later what we're using these ruler stickers for, but I put some ruler stickers on there. Next, we have the 4-inch arc. So we're going to use this to go from our pumpkin to our next pumpkin, maybe, maybe do some other things with it, but we're hopefully going to use the 4-inch arc. That's the plan. That's what I've done in the past. We're also going to use the 2-inch simple circle that comes in the sampler set. If you notice I've removed the puzzle piece, it's because I'm only going to use part of the template up here. I'm not going to use the entire circle. So that's why I've taken the puzzle piece out. It just makes it easier for me to get in and out. If you have the 2-inch simple circle with the needle slot, that's perfect. And then we're going to use the feathered leaf. It's a little different, so wonder what Pam's going to do with that. But we're going to use the feathered leaf. And then one of my favorite templates is the 6-inch spiral, also from the sampler set. So we're going to use this as well. And then what else we got going on? We have, look at how big this is. This is the 4-inch, oops, let me turn it right side up so you can see. It says right up here, the 4-inch simple circle. This is what I'm going to make my big pumpkins with. And again, it's just doesn't look like a pumpkin here, but we're going to turn it into a pumpkin. So the 4-inch simple circle comes from the simple circle set number 2. Let me show you that real quick. It includes a 2-inch, a 3-inch, a 3.5, and a 4-inch simple circle. So if you like circles, the simple circle sets are really fun to have. And then at the end, I'm going to do my Sassy Feathers. I have the second in my series of Sassy Feathers. So hopefully I won't forget to do that. You guys are going to have to remind me if I forget to do that. So let's see what we got going on here. Yes, pumpkins. I was kind of thinking that hopefully people are starting to work on fall, like table runners and small things like that, and you're looking for ways to quilt them. And I'm hoping that this helps. So we're going to start making our first pumpkin. So I'm using the 4-inch simple circle. What I'm going to do is I'm going to pull my thread. Well, let's talk about this template real quick because it has some markings that we're going to use. So we have the markings here, which are the 4 points of a compass, say, right? North, east, south, west. And then we also have these diagonal ones, which are the 45-degree angles. Okay, so I'm going to refer to these either as the diagonal or the 45 degrees. And then who knows what I'll refer to these ones. I probably will forget and call them something silly, but just so you know, we're going to use a couple of those. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull my thread between the straight up like north point and this first diagonal. That's where I'm going to pull my thread. So and I'm going to take a couple of anchoring stitches. Now, I'm going to stitch around to the left and I'm going to stop in between the south point down here and this diagonal over here. Now, you could put a ruler sticker here to mark where you were going to stop. I just kind of eyeball it. But if you're the kind of person who gets nervous with eyeballing, by all means mark. And I'm going to stop. See, I'm about halfway between these 2 points right here. I'm going to move my template over until I'm about halfway between the southern point here and the diagonal to it to the left. The other thing that you can check is you should be about a 1/4 inch away from where you started up here on the top by doing that. If you're not, it's not the end of the world. So we're going to see what happens. We'll see how perfect we are, which Pam's never perfect. And I'm off a little, not a problem. I'm going to stop and I'm going to take a stitch just to connect it. Now, I don't know what these are called, so if somebody knows, it would be really great to share with me. You know, the ribs in your pumpkin, like the bumps, like I don't know what those indents are called. So I'm going to call them veins or ribs, but they create ribs. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go from the center and I'm taking, if you notice here on this template, where the line is, maybe I'm going to turn it. I'm going to put the edge of the template on the edge of my pumpkin. Okay? That's step number 1. I'm going to stitch down part way. Oh, I'm dragging this thread with me. I don't want to do that. There we go. I'm going to stitch down to about this line. I don't need to be exact, and then I'm going to stitch right back up. I'm going to move the template over until the line that I just stitched is about halfway between this area here. It doesn't have to be exactly. You could move it over farther if you wanted. Whatever works for you. But this works for me. And this line, I'm going to go lower. Go down here and come back up. Now that time I went down to where my foot, this part of the foot here, touched this line down here, the diagonal line. Now I'm going to switch to the other side. I'm going to do the same thing. I'm using the template down here. I'm going to show you right there, the width there. Go back up. And then I'm going to move my template so that this is about halfway. And I'm going to come back down. Go a little farther down. And we're just missing a few things here. Try and get these guys out of my way. Sorry about my hand being in here. There we go. Now, what's missing is we need a stem, right? Pumpkins have stems. So we're going to do a little bit of traveling here. Not a lot, just a little bit. And I'm going to take my 4-inch arc. And I'm going to go up a little. I'm going to take a couple of stitches to my left and down a little bit. And while I'm here, I'm going to cut these threads because they're kind of getting in my way. There we go. And you'll see the pumpkin much better. And then I'm going to come down here. And there's my stem. So I'm not moving it out of the way yet, but there's my pumpkin. So here's my pumpkin, here's my stem. And then the fun part, we're going to take our feathered leaf. So this is from the feathered leaf collection. So they're feathers, but they look like leaves. And I'm just going to come out a little bit. And I'm going to take this template and just kind of set it here. This is the 2-inch. This is the smallest of the feathered leaves. And I'm going to stitch a little leaf. And then I'm going to come over here and I'm going to stitch another one. And now I'm going to travel to make another pumpkin. So let's. Now, if you're really brave, you can travel out here and do whatever you want. I'm not that brave. So I'm going to get out my 6-inch spiral and I'm going to come up here. I'm checking to see if. Okay, I was just checking on questions. I want to end up over here somewhere. So I'm going to take my Choco liner and I'm going to take a ruler. I like to use the 2x18-inch ruler, especially when I'm doing edge to edge. And I'm going to measure out here and I'm going to be probably about here is where I want my next stem. Now, I've never measured this pumpkin, so we're going to do that right now. The pumpkin is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, about 5.5 inches, right? So that's 2 3/4, 1, 2 3/4. That's enough distance. So from the center to the center, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 is about 6 inches, and that's good. I think that's going to give me plenty of room to make another pumpkin. So I need to end up here at this point. So I'm going to use my 6-inch spiral. I'm going to come down a little bit, kind of like a feather spine. And my templates are getting all confused, so I need to put them back or I'm going to lose them. I'm not going to lose the templates. I mean, I'm right here, but I'm going to pop in another leaf here. I'm going to switch up the angles of the leaves, give it a little bit more fun. And then I'm going to come off this way and end about here. Again, I can add another feathered leaf here. That looks like a fun, well, let's do it at an angle like this. I know this takes a little time to add these leaves, but I really think it looks cute when you do it. Okay, and then we're going to come back here. And this is going to be the center of our next pumpkin. So we could, while we're here, go ahead and add a leaf. We could wait until we were done. Leave room for our stem. And now we need our 4-inch simple circle again. Put that back in. I probably could get away without having the puzzle piece in there. And we're going to remember halfway between the north and the first diagonal. And off I go. Move this over so I'm in between south and the first diagonal to the left. There we are. So we're going to do our first vein. This time I didn't go down this far, just so that your pumpkins kind of look a little different as you're going on. And move that over. This one we go down farther. You can add more veins if you want to. Like on this pumpkin, let's add another one just to see what it looks like. We have to be careful. We don't want our veins to touch. This one, I'm turning the template so I can see where this is. Oh, my pumpkin got a little flat right there. Shh, let's not tell anybody. I usually only do the 4 veins just because of the time, but by all means, you could add as many as you wanted. And there, I went off the template, so I'm trying hard to try and get back on. Now, I don't want these two to match or to meet, so I'm just being careful that they don't touch each other. So this is going to be a fairly short class. And then we're going to, this time we're going to use the 6-inch spiral to make our stem. We're going to go up a little bit. If you want to, you can use the straight part of this. I don't go straight across. I always go at some kind of an angle. And then we're going to add another feather. We're going to make one more pumpkin because I'm going to try it without the puzzle piece in here and see if we can do that. I think we can. And then that would save you some time while you were stitching. But I'm always going to take the time to throw these leaves in. You don't have to throw in a lot of them. And then this time we're going to try the 4-inch arc to get to our next spot. So, how many inches did we say that was? Does anybody remember? From center to center, it was 6 inches, I think. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. So we're going to go about 6 inches and make a little mark. You could mark it with whatever you wanted. Or a lot of times you can just look at your quilt and go, oh, that's the intersection of the border and this, or a piece of something on your quilt. Ribs is correct. Thank you, Carla. So making the ribs. There's no need for a crosshair because we're not doing a design that has north, south, east, and west. So thank you, Linda. Okay, 6 inches. Thank you, Evelyn, for remembering that. All right, we're gonna go on our way out here using the 4-inch arc. And we're gonna kind of travel this way. Oh, I'm not using stable tape right now because I turned it upside down. I wondered why it felt so funny. All right, let's make our next pumpkin. Let's start here and go down. Stop. Move over. Let's see. There we go. We'll just turn that. Nope, the puzzle piece is open on the top. We're going to turn it like that. Put it, that's got to go there. I forgot for a second what I was doing. So you stitch the first part to the right, towards the east, right? You're stitching towards you're going counterclockwise, but you were stopping on the east. Then the next one, you're starting on the west of your template, and you just continue to go around. That came pretty close. There we go. Oh, see, so it works. You don't have to have the puzzle piece in if you have an older template. So that's really good to know. There's a lot of times where I take the puzzle pieces out when I'm sewing if I don't need them. So that's good to know. Okay, let's make our stem. Oh, I need to put that back in there to make the ribs. It's pretty funny. Well, let's put our little leaf in. So I'm doing this 3 times so you kind of get an idea of what we're doing here. And I think 3 times is a good amount of times to see something, to have it kind of sink in instead of just doing it once. Now, let's put our veins in to make our ribs. I did this wrong, so we're gonna, I put it up against the edge of the pumpkin. I have to remember that when I go to the other side. So now I'm gonna do this. So this is gonna have 3 because it's gonna look funny otherwise. And if you'll notice, I'm not going from center. So this time I went a little off center to do my ribs. So let's go here. And remember we went on the edge of the, the machine sounds like it needs a new needle. Hmm. And then I would probably come here, take something to go off this direction. If this were the end of my like table runner or quilt or whatever, and throw in a leaf with the stable tape down on the fabric. And then I would pull my threads and bury them. So I just cut them because it's a demo. I'm using a 40 weight thread. It's Masterpiece Cotton, but it's the only orange thread that I had. So there's my row of chunky pumpkins. And I'm just checking for comments. Okay, let's see. No questions. Does anybody have a question? Now is the time to type them in. Nope, I'm not seeing any questions, so we're going to go on. I do have another shape of a pumpkin, okay? So I'm going to just mark right above what I did stitch. So if you wanted to, you could alternate pumpkins between chunky and the next pumpkins we're going to make are kind of taller and a little bit thinner. So, all right. For this pumpkin, we're going to use the 2-inch simple circle, and it's still going to be about 4 inches high. So I'm going to take my ruler that I just lost. And I'm going to mark 1, 2, 3, 4 inches, about 4 1/4. And you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to mark this along. That's not 4 inches. I kind of shrunk there. So we're going to have to go up a little bit. On a regular quilt, if I were going to do this, I would mark certain areas. So, you know, I would mark this ahead of time. I wouldn't do it on the fly. Sometimes I do things on the fly, but the reason I'm doing this is so I don't have to stop and travel along and make a mark for where the next pumpkin's going to start. So we're going to pull our thread. We're going to pull it a foot width above that line. Just giving myself a little bit of extra room. Okay. This time I'm using the 2-inch simple circle from the sampler set, but it's the same concept. I'm going to start halfway between these two lines. And on this one, I'm just going to stitch to the diagonal on my left. I'm going to stitch towards my left, and I'm going to stop on this very first diagonal line. So there we go. That's the top of my pumpkin, the one half of my pumpkin. Now I'm going to get out my, oh, I'm way too low. How did that happen? 1, 2, 3, 4, that's 4 inches. Oh, that's not. 1, 2, 3, it is 4. How did I mess this up? Oh, because I only went up 3. Ah. Okay, we're going to start this over. I needed to be up 4 inches. See what we can do to pull this out. There we go. If you've only put in a few stitches, you can pull it out pretty easily. So now I know I need to be an inch higher. So we're just going to come up here and we're going to measure and draw a line. Total height is more than 4 inches because you're adding the stem and the leaves. So, all right, let's try this again. Okay, put the 2-inch simple circle back halfway between the north point on the compass and the very first diagonal. We're going to stitch to the diagonal. We're going to take our 12-inch arc and we are going to stitch from this second line. So counting down from the top here, let me do this so you can see, right? This is the top of the arc. And then I counted down 1, 2 lines. Down in the bottom, I'm up 2 lines, and that's where I'm going to stop. Trying to keep my template as perpendicular to the lines as possible. I don't want to stitch way at an angle like this or way at an angle like that. I want to keep it pretty straight. Stop there. Get my 2-inch simple circle. I'm going to stitch until, remember, halfway between these two. Remember, I stopped on that angle on the diagonal, so I'm going to start on the diagonal. Stitch until I'm halfway between those two, halfway between those two, and then I'm going to go around to the top. Or to stop on the diagonal. Sorry. I was thinking I was making a round pumpkin and I'm not. I'm making a tall pumpkin. Okay. I'm going to stop when I get to the line that I've marked. And then this should meet up with, I'm on the diagonal, this should meet up with where I started, which it does. Okay. So here's my second pumpkin. And on this one, we're actually going to travel out a little bit to put in our first vein. Go down a little bit, come back up, then go off to the middle, come down a little farther. And go back up. And sometimes you go off, and that's okay. So play around with making your pumpkins. Measure the entire size of your pumpkin, and then you can say, okay, that's, a 5 inch by 6 inches or whatever it ends up being, the way that you make your pumpkin. And then you'll know how many can fit in a certain space. I'll trim these threads, get them out of my way. I hope you guys don't do this while you're quilting, trim your threads like that. Okay, just checking comments. I can't believe you guys don't have any questions. Let's use the arc to make our stem here. And let's make it a little longer because our pumpkin's a little taller. And let's throw in a leaf, as Pam likes to do. Now, here I'm going to stitch and it's going to come down off the pumpkin. So I'm actually stitching on the pumpkin until I touch the template. And then I can go. Come out here, add one. You're just concentrating. I like that. I'm concentrating too. But I'm trying to remember to tell you everything so that when you go to do this on your own table runners or placemats or whatever you've got going for the holidays, that I haven't missed anything. But I'm really excited to see you guys try this. So here's my first tall pumpkin. I definitely like this shape better. I like the short, wider pumpkin better. But he's very useful because he fits in. Like if you get to the end of something, you can alternate these two for space reasons so that you're not making half of a pumpkin at the end of your, piece and not have enough room for a full pumpkin. So that's why I say, depending on what you're quilting, measure it and figure out, is it 3 wide pumpkins and then a skinny pumpkin? Would that work? And so how would you do that? 3 in 1, you could do a wide pumpkin, a skinny pumpkin, 2 wide pumpkins. That would fit. Or is it every other one? You know, a wide pumpkin, a skinny pumpkin, a wide, a skinny, a wide, a skinny. Will that work? Or is it 2 skinnies and a wide, you know, with the whole math thing? So if you have trouble figuring that out, feel free to reach out to me and I will help you with that. Um, yeah. I do have no, I do not have the feed dogs up. My feed dogs are down. So I've got this set up for regular ruler work. Feed dogs are down. I set my stitch length to 0. You don't need to do that. To me, it's insurance. If I forget to lower my feed dogs, I'll remember to set my stitch length to 0. If I forget to do my stitch length to 0, hopefully I'll remember to lower my feed dogs. So that's what I've done. Um, and again, I said I was using a 40 weight thread. So, and I actually have a 50 weight thread in my bobbin. For those of you that the first time that you're here with me, um, I use water soluble thread in these little demos, and it saves on fabric. So put water soluble thread in your bobbin, and you can do a lot of practice. And as you'll see, I've overlocked these edges, but you could use pinking shears. You could do an overlock stitch on your machine. You could do a zigzag stitch. And then I throw it in the washing machine in a mesh bag. And so all the thread stays in the mesh bag because the orange thread's going to come off, but the thread on the back is going to dissolve and disappear. So those are my secrets. I guess they're not secrets anymore. Okay, let's see how wide this guy is. He doesn't look very wide, does he? He is 1, 2, 3, 4 inches wide. And this pumpkin was 5.5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.5. Yeah. And this guy is 4. So, however the math works out. So I need to go over at least 2 inches. 1, 2, maybe 2.5. So that would be right there. At least I have one line marked. So what I would probably do is I would practice maybe on paper with what I was going to make, and then I would measure, and then I'd come on my piece and go, okay, I need my stems to be 1, 2, 3, 4 inches apart. Um, is that right? Yeah, my centers. 1, 2, 3. Yeah, my centers are 4 inches apart. So I would tick marks every 4 inches. Or if I needed a wider one, I would do that distance as well. So, what did, Nilda, I need a little bit more information as to what you tried today and what didn't work. No, I don't stitch them together. What I actually do is I'll just kind of let them go in the mesh bag, or I might, if I'm washing more than one and I want to keep this top with this backing, then I'll put a safety pin in the corner and throw that in the washing machine. So, okay, this time we're going to use the 4-inch arc to get over here. And it's just a way to connect your pumpkins. There may be other ways to connect your pumpkins, which we can look into in the future. Okay, here we go. We're making our pumpkin. We're going from the center between the middle and that diagonal to the diagonal. Then we're going to take out our 12-inch arc and go from line to line. Put in our 2-inch simple circle. This goes from the diagonal to halfway in between, right? And then this goes from halfway in between to the diagonal. And then we bring this back. Remember, you want this to be as parallel to that line as possible. So put that there. There we go. Go up to the top. Up on this line. And then we're going to connect these two. Oh, that's kind of a, there we go. Now this stem, I'm going to go the other direction, right? Just for variety. And you can have your stem come backward into the center. Just makes a little bit different shape of a stem. Let's throw a leaf in there. Okay, let's put our veins in to make our ribs. Let's see. We're going to do the center one first. I'm going to go down fairly far. And then we're going to move over a couple stitches. There is a little bit of free stitching when you do this, and it's usually just traveling on previously stitched stitches. So it's backtracking or traveling, depending if you're going backwards or if you're traveling too. It doesn't really matter. They're used interchangeably, the terms. Oops. I let go of the fabric and I didn't let go of my foot. So that's something to remember. Let's put a leaf in here. I think the leaves really add a lot. So I'll put a link to this set of templates in the comments in a few minutes. How far did we have to go over? It was like 4 inches. You can also use your 12-inch arc to measure, right? Because this is a 1/2 inch. These first 4 columns are 1/2 inch or quarter, 1/2 inch. This is an inch. This is an inch. This is a half. So if you measured from here, 1/2, 2, 1/2, 3, or if 1/2, 2, 1/2, 1, 1/2, 2, 3, 4. So we can just use this, go to the center, make our little mark, which we've lost our choco liner. And then we know where to start our next one. So we're going to travel with the 12-inch arc. We're going to get a nice little, that was just a simple little connection there. So one more, right? Because that was the plan. Halfway between north and diagonal to the next diagonal, going to your left. So Nilda, some of the things when you're doing a full-size quilt that can really get you kind of lost and jumbled up and crammed and things like that is when you don't release all the tension on your quilt. So you want to make sure your quilt isn't dragging. You can use things like the Sew Steady suspension system. You can use the weightless quilter. You can use an ironing board next to your sewing machine, which works, but it's not the best of ways to do things. Um, but you don't want your quilt laying off of your quilting surface. So you want to eliminate any of the drag that you can, and that will help you. I have to take a drink of water, just a sec. Mm, I don't want to start coughing. I said that and then I'm going to start coughing. Oh, halfway. I think I got these a little too far apart, but that's all right. We're going to do some fun education. Oh, that was too close. Look at how close I am up here, but that's okay. It just means my pumpkin's a little bit skinnier than the other ones. So I'm going to get out my spacing gauge. I guess I was not paying attention. I'm going to get out my spacing gauge and make sure that I'm going to hit that. My pumpkin's kind of a little lopsided here, but that's all right. It doesn't matter if you do the stem first, the ribs first. Or the leaves. You do the leaves, the ribs, and the stem in any order you want. So we could have maybe put another leaf in there when we were traveling over, but we didn't. Again, I am stitching on the line that was already there so that my leaf doesn't go below that line, because then the line will look like it goes through the leaf. It doesn't matter. That's just the way I do. Let's try this. We're going to make a stem with this. We're going to go up a few stitches, down, and then kind of a different stem, but whatever works. Do one more leaf, part of it. There's my pumpkins. Oh, let's see, let's move that up a little bit. There's the pumpkins. So those are the taller pumpkins. So those are the two pumpkins. Does anybody have any questions on the pumpkins? Okay. So these are pumpkins. So really fun way. You can use any size circle. I just think the 4-inch makes a really nice size pumpkin. And I think if you're going to go across, like doing an edge to edge, you want a larger piece to work with. You don't want to do something really small because then you'll be making a million of them. This is, let's see how far this goes. That's 12. This is 19 inches from end to end. That's covers a pretty good distance. 19 inches is a pretty good distance, especially if you're working on table runner size. So, all right. Let's all right, so last month, remember we did feather hearts. Remember with the feather template? This month, we're going to do what I call feather curls. This is part of my Sassy Feather collection. Because sometimes you don't want classic feathers. You want something that's a little different or something. So I'm going to use the 3-inch feather template set or feather template today. You can mix and match the different sizes if you want to. That's perfectly fine, but I'm just going to use this one. So I'm going to use my 12-inch arc to make a spine. You could use a spine template if you wanted. You could also do straight if you wanted, but I'm just going to use this. So let's go here. We're going to pull our thread. How many of you have feather templates and maybe don't use them? So maybe like, yes, I use my feathers, or have but don't use, or want. It's on my list, my wish list. Get about here and then put your template over there. And that's how you get kind of a different shape to your spine. Okay. All right. So let's talk a little bit about the feather template before we get too far. So I'm just checking to make sure you can see this. These lines here just show you where you can stop and start. This is your center line, so you want this on the center. Usually when you make a feather, you come around and then you stop up here, move your template up, make the next feather. We're not going to do that. We're going to stitch around to about this line right here, and then we're going to go back. So with this, I call these feather curls. They're all double stitched. Okay. So let's see what we got here. Yay, people are using their feather templates. Feather templates are the reason I got into ruler quilting. The shop where my local quilt store had the templates. They had just gotten them in. There was a feather template. I played with the feather template and bought the sampler set and a set of feathers and was on my way. So, okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to stitch around to this point here, and then I'm going to stitch back. It doesn't exactly have to be that point. It can be before it. It can be, you know, you just don't want to complete your feather. That's all you're going to stitch. I'm going to go on the other side and do the same thing. Now, I don't need to travel all the way back down. I'm at the stem. I may need to go further away from me, or I may need to come closer to me. So, but I went a little too far. Here's the thing. When you line up your templates, the most important part is that this part of the template clears this part of your feather, so that you're going to be stitching the next curl a 1/4 inch away from the previous one. If you get too close, it looks like you messed up a feather. I think a 1/4 of an inch is perfect. If you want to do an 1/8 of an inch, you can, and the way to do that is to take your spacing gauge. You can play with that. It's not my favorite way to do it, and put an 1/8 of an inch here, and then your stitching will be an 1/8 of an inch away. I think that's too close. I don't like the way that looks, but other people have done it and like it, so I'm not going to judge. Okay, I'm going to travel up a little bit until I hit the template. Come around. Could have gone a little farther, but there we have it. Now this one, right, I want to clear this. I'm going to travel up my spine. Ta-da! What we got here? Oh, that works. I'm traveling up my spine. Not really. I'm far enough away. Put that up there. Up this way. This one I'm definitely going to have to come up the spine. Travel up the spine until you hit the template. There we go. Oh, I'm a little too close, but that's all right. When we get up to the top, I'll show you what it looks like when you're an 1/8 of an inch away. And then this one. Or maybe I'll do another one since we have so much time. I'll do another one an 1/8 of an inch away, and you can see which one you like better. So for those of you who have feather templates and you've never used them, I have a feather class on the university that covers regular feathers. It doesn't do my sassy feathers. It does feathered leaf. It covers feather wreaths and spinifex feathers. The other thing it's called For My Feathered Friends, and it's a really pretty quilt that you can. It's a great like baby quilt. It goes together really quickly. It's made all with flying geese. So, and then it's quilted all with different kinds of feathers. So you get the pattern to the quilt, and you get the video instruction of all the different feathers. And my favorite part of the class is that you get continuous feathers. So by that I mean you start anywhere on your border. You don't have to mark anything. You don't have to mark center. You don't have to use ornaments in the center. And you just do regular feathers and go all the way around your quilt, and no one can tell where you stopped or started your feathers. And we're almost done. So again, I'm not completing my feather. I guess you could also call these feather hooks, but I call them curls because they kind of remind me of curly cues. Let's see. Travel up. There we go. This is almost too close. Okay. We're going to tilt our template like this. And we're going to follow that line that's already there from the spine. And we're going to stitch around. And then we're going to come back to that line. We're going to come over here and we're going to follow up that line. And come around. There we go. We had to do a little, like, what I call free stitching there for just a little bit. Oh, and I messed up right there. I went off the template. So there are my feather curls. Let's see. I'm just checking for questions and comments. So, okay, we're going to do a little bit of these where they're an eighth of an inch apart, so you can see. Like I said, I prefer the quarter-inch distance between here, this hook, this curl right here, and the top of the next one or the previous one. I prefer that distance. Also, it's really easy because it's the distance between the edge of the template and where the needle is, right? It's because you're going to stitch a quarter-inch away from the edge of the template. So it's really easy to line up and it goes really fast. If you have to constantly measure, and this time we're going to do a straight spine just so you can see the difference. Okay, so we got our spacing gauge. Of course, I have the pink one because, I have to have the pink one. Remember, I don't want to complete my feather. Oh, I started way too far back. That's why. Okay. I'm just talking to myself. Sorry. Okay. Now, take my spacing gauge, take the 1/8 inch part of my spacing gauge, put it on the inside of the previous stitched curl. And then that way my template is 1/8 of an inch away from this. Another 1/8 of an inch is going to be 1/4 of an inch. So my stitching line is going to be out here. It takes longer to do that because you have to line up every time, which is why it's not my favorite thing to do. And I always worry I'm going to mess up and hit and make a feather. So see, having to measure this every time. So imagine doing that in the border of a quilt. If it was a placemat, so you know how a lot of Westerly designs are circular or square. I've shown you how to make square designs with circular templates. Then you can take a row of feathers, add them to a circular or a square design, and make your piece a rectangle, which is the perfect shape for a placemat. So that's where I like to do feathers, is on, or any border design really. This is something that I would never guess. Oh, okay. Meaning I couldn't eyeball this to make sure that they're not going to touch. I would always have to use my spacing gauge. The one time that I didn't, they would touch. And then it would create a full feather, and that's not what I want to do. And I still get when it's 1/8 of an inch away. Every time I get over there, I get, please don't touch, please don't touch. I know it's not going to touch because I'm measured, but it still scares me. So come up the spine. And then I'm just going to do a couple more. And I'm going to angle them a little bit. So instead of being perpendicular like that, I'm going to angle it a little bit like this. Don't want to touch. And then angle this one as well. This time I'm going to have to travel or backtrack along this line, because if I oops, let's come up here a little bit before we there. If I just go off the template, I'm going to stitch outside the spine. I lost my little pointer. Oh, here it is. When I came up here, I would have stitched out over this direction. So that's why I had to move the template just then. But this is what it looks like when they're 1/8 of an inch apart. I just think this is more whimsical, and that's more fitting in my personality, is the little whimsical look. So let me put this, I'm gonna move the camera, so give me a second to move the camera. Boom. Let's see if you can see those. Yeah, so those are the feather curls. And then I'm gonna get out the other ones, the pumpkins. We'll put the pumpkins up so you can see the pumpkins. And here are the pumpkins. Let me turn this light off. You might be able to see better without that light on. There we go. And here's the pumpkins. Hold on, there's another light I can turn off that might make it show up better. There we go. So there's our pumpkins. And let's see what we got here. Oh, thank you for the pumpkin comment. So, folks, that's all I have for today. I know it wasn't a super long class, but I think we had some fun and hopefully inspired you to think a little bit outside the box with your templates. And just because it's a circle template doesn't mean it only does a circular shape. You can also do a pumpkin shape. So, and I think the feathered leaves are a really nice way to add leaves to vines, no matter what you're doing. Like if you're doing free motion flowers and you want to add some leaves to that, or if you're doing flowers with your spinifexes and then you use your 12-inch arc for a stem, then, or the 4-inch arc for a stem, you can add leaves with the feathered leaves. So what I want to do now, I'm going to put in the comments the different products that I use today, the simple circles and the feathered leaves and that kind of stuff. So if you want to look at them, you just have to. So there's that. The first one I put out is the simple circles. And then next up is the feathered leaf. Uh-oh, an error happened. I don't know what happened. Let me try something different. It's not, I don't think it's posting. Let's see. Oh yeah, it did post. I don't know why I got an error message. Hmm. Hopefully you can see these links. And then next up is the feather templates. The regular feathers. You're welcome. I appreciate you all being here. It makes the first Friday of the month that much more fun for me. And how quickly the months go by. Again, if you have any ideas on things that you want me to do, next month I'll probably do something that's holiday themed, winter holiday themed. December, I'm definitely going to do snowflakes so that you can use snowflakes for your January projects. And if you're still late on December ones, you could probably use them too. So links work great. Okay. And then I'm just going to throw out a link for the sampler set. If you don't have the sampler set, you should have it. It's a really useful. I use the sampler set a lot. Um, and I use it a lot in my demos and my classes because I just think everybody has it, or they should if they don't. Um, let's see. And then what else do I have? Oh, the 12-inch arc. You know, some people end up, it used to be everybody had the 12-inch arc, right? Because it came with the foot. You would buy a westerly foot, but now there's so many companies that have their own manufacturer's ruler feet that not everybody has the 12-inch arc. So I put that on there. What's going on here? So I'm just going to hang out for a minute to see if anybody has any questions. Reach out if there's something you want to show you. I'm happy to do that. Um, Oh yeah, Kathy, you got to watch for the pumpkins. They're really fun. So anyway, if nobody has any questions, I'm going to take a couple of breaths and then I'm going to sign out. So to the best of my knowledge, you should be able to watch this on Facebook or YouTube, either So Steady's YouTube or My Sassy Notions YouTube. So enjoy that, and you can always reach out to me if you need anything answered or you have questions. Someone was having problems, I forget her name. If you're having problems with ruler work, by all means, reach out. Um, or watch one of Danelle's beginner ruler work classes. She does a really good job of teaching that. So, beginning ruler work. All right, folks, I'm going to go now. I'm not seeing any new comments. Let's see. Are you doing a session later this month? I do the first Friday of the month. There is um, there's something coming up later this month that involves a couple of educators that I am probably going to participate in. So, but I usually just do one session a month. So, all right, folks, that's it. Thank you. I appreciate you being here. Again, I will see you in November. Have a wonderful October. And hopefully it's going to cool off here in Arizona pretty soon. These 100-degree temps are pretty warm. I can't put a pumpkin outside my house. So for those of you that can, and for anybody that's on the East Coast and is um, feeling the havoc of the hurricane, I wish you the best. And glad that you could make it. So take care, everybody. Thank you. Bye.